राहतों पे हो निशान, किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, जीना इसी का नाम है। माला अपनी जेब से फकीर है, फिर भी यारों दिल के हम अमीर हैं। माला अपनी जेब से फकीर है, फिर भी यारों दिल के हम अमीर हैं। मिटे जो प्यार के लिए वो जिंदगी, चले बाहर के लिए वो जिंदगी, किसी को हो ना हो हमें तो एतबार, जीना इसी का नाम है।
अच्छा दिन हारी चलूं जाऊं ना,
देखी सबकी यादें मेरा दिल जला
अच्छा दिन हारी चलूं जाऊं ना,
देखी सबकी यादें मेरा दिल जला
अच्छा दिन हारी चलूं जाऊं ना,
देखी सबकी यादें मेरा दिल जला।
What's up? What's up, everyone? Hello.
अच्छा दिन
Hello. Welcome to tonight's session. We are in for a very, very special session today. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the most common questions. And it's a question that most people have some answer to. However, today we're going to tackle this question from 3 or 4 different angles. We're going to be talking about pros, we're going to be talking about cons. We're not going to try to give you a biased, our biased opinion. We'll try to give you all sides, and hopefully this gives you a good idea of one of the things that holds people back. This is a blocker for many people. This holds people back. They think that they need permission from some institute or something that gives them and says you are certified, right? And that holds people back from trying it out themselves, which we believe is not a good thing. So hopefully today we can tackle that from a bunch of perspectives. Let me real quick bring on our guest for tonight. This is somebody a lot of you might already know about, right? Today we're going to have Jayneil. Jayneil teaches alongside with me at 10K Designers. We teach the cohort together. He also has his own thing coming up very soon, which we'll talk about on these streams. But let's get started, bro. What's up, Jayneil?
What's going on? Hello. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste, bro. Jayneil, I'm loving the new... number one, can you center yourself to your screen? I think that would be perfect in terms of framing.
Yeah.
Oof. Bro, we're too heavily branded today. Like, I think I'm going to have to switch to a different one. I'm going to switch to a different one just because it seems too heavily branded. But bro, love it. I love the new beanie.
Thank you.
I don't know why I keep going out of focus. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're
Folks,
focused.
so let's do a real quick intros for everyone. Jayneil is a designer, like a lot of us here. Jayneil currently lives in Texas, where he's doing a bunch of things, including teaching at 10K designers. He has previously worked heavily in B2B. So Jayneil actually moved a couple of years back from Gujarat to Texas. There's a lot of interesting stories there. Maybe we cover some of those. But Jayneil is also a self-taught designer. But today's topic, Jayneil, of course, we've talked about
Yeah.
this. What we want to do, just to set the agenda for everybody who is here. Again, namaste. Welcome to session number 2, right? The fact that you're here is very special to us because we know that a lot of people are going to drop off. The first session was probably this thing, and we know it's going to go down.
Yeah.
But again, we only want people who are super interested, just as excited about this as we are. So all the genuine people in the chat, thank you for being here. Agenda for tonight. What we're going to be talking about is this idea of design degrees. I think the reason it's so important, although it might feel like, why it's such a common question. It feels like everybody says, no, it's not needed. Employers don't look for it, right? It seems like it's a question that we should be beyond. But I think the reason it's important to discuss this is it's a blocker for people. So Jayneil, bro, thoughts? What's up? Welcome to the show.
I'm super excited to be here, and all the good juice here in the chat, just watching the stream. Game cho, Pyjama cho. And and my main thing is it's been going on for a while where this gatekeeping is and I get it, like that's how it used to be back in the day. You would go to a specific institution and you would get this degree, and that degree would be a proof that you can do your work. But like we live in such a modern age where all the resources, everything is out there. What matters more so is, can you prove that can you do the design work, and less about, oh, I went to Stanford Design School, I went to IIT, and I went to this so and so fancy college. That's one way to do it. I'm not saying there's no benefit of that. I mean, if someone wants a proven path and they want the connections and networking, yeah, I mean, sure, by all means, go there. But a lot of people may not want to do that. A lot of folks might want to, carve their own path. And that's what I wanted, today, shed some light on, because out of all people, dude, I don't have a goddamn degree in the United States. I don't have any degree from US. I have a degree from India, but I don't think that is that much valid, because it's a degree in electronics and communication EC. So
yeah, same, bro. Computer science. I did computer science. Yeah. So I think one important distinction as we enter today's topic is there are 2 questions, okay? And most people think it's just one question. लोग सोचते हैं एक ही question है, degree या नहीं चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए, design degree and self-taught. But I think there's 2 questions here. If we really peel some of these layers, the 2 questions are, number 1, do I need to go to design college? And the second is, should I go to college? You see the distinction there. The first one says, do I need to get a design degree? Is it a need that I have? And the second question is, should I go to college? And the reason I'm splitting these 2 questions is because the answers are different. The answer to the first, do I need it? No, you do not need it. And we'll talk about some alternatives that you have. In the end, this is not a battle. This is not a battle of college versus no college. We have nothing against college, which is why the second question is important. Should I go to college? If you have the option, I feel you should definitely go to college, right? Because college, we all know this. If you go to college with the expectation that college is going to make you this, give you this crazy result at the end, the thing which coaching centers promise, the 1 crore package or whatever, you're going to be disappointed. But ask anybody who's been to college, what was your favorite time in college? And it was the friends. It was the friends they made. It was the things they did. It was the experiences they had. So we would definitely, if the question is, should I go to college? If you're in 12th or whatever, you're like, dude, should I drop out, go to college? If you have the chance to go to college, I would say definitely do it. It's a great socializing experience. I don't know who I was before college. College shaped my worldviews. It gave me the chance to work with people who are still really great friends today. People like Varun Maya. We met in college, although we had met a little bit before that as well. So to you, Jenny, do you see these questions as separate? Need to go to college versus should I go to college?
I mean, I don't look at the question. I look at it. Everybody's situation is unique, right? So if we've got Sajal UI UX in the chat, I just saw his name, so I'm just going to pick on him. So let's say Sajal is like, let's say that he just wants to like build that network. He wants that experience. He wants like that, like just that ability to go to college and learn new things, tinker. Then he might go. You got Nikhil Namal, who's like engineering OP, right? So he might just be like, you know what? I don't want to spend this much money on a college. I want to do some other experiences, and I might want to just directly learn and start doing freelance and travel. So I think it's more of situational what you want. And I think in the Indian context, right, a lot of our parents and everyone, dude, they are gonna pressure us to go to college because that's what the cultural narrative is. And it's fine. You don't have to fight your parents and do all this. Like Abhinav had to fight with his parents. I had to like one point. Okay, I had this crazy thing that I wanted to be a professional soccer player. Okay, and I was like, oh, there's no Indian soccer player out there. I'll be the first one, whatever. So, my dad is a very reasonable man. So he's like, okay, I'll put you in the top coaching camp, whichever one you come up with. If after end of 30 days, your coach can tell me straight face that you have what it takes to make it at the top level, then you can quit engineering college. Just quit it. I will personally come to the dean's office and get you out. So at the end of 30 days, I realized that I think what my coach said was, like, Jayneil, unfortunately, you have better brains than legs. So I would recommend that you do not continue your career in soccer. So that was my short-lived soccer career. And after that point, I realized that a lot of people just follow a specific path. They're like, oh, Sharma ji ka beta went to IIT. Then you got this 1 crore package. Then he's somewhere, some foreign countries living the life. But that's one way of doing it. That doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. So instead of question of like, should I go to college? Should I need a degree? Like, do I need experience? The question is like, what do you really want? Let's optimize for that.
Yeah.
So when you think from that perspective, then all these pressure of like a lot of people might be competing to get into the top colleges, right? As we're talking. So then that pressure goes down that, hey, you know what? Even if I don't get into IIT, SVNIT, and BITS Pilani, whatever, I still have a career.
Yeah. And of course, I'll add a few more names to that. NID, NIFT,
yes,
other design colleges, all great. Like the NID experience, from what I've heard, or the Shrishti experience, people have a lot of fun there. Okay. And it does shape their world in different ways. But let's switch gears a little bit. Okay. You and I, we've been in the design industry for 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You've been so I think one unique perspective that we bring here is I can talk very much about the Indian context, right?
Yeah.
I can talk about me. I have been in a position where I've interviewed close to 100 designers, right? Over my couple of years at Unacademy. And I have interviewed designers and been in a hiring position, right? So I will talk from that perspective, right? From an Indian perspective, how important is having a degree, having a design degree. And maybe you can talk a little bit from the US perspective as well.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to show you all is this one thread that a lot of people seemed to enjoy. Okay. Seem to enjoy. I'll let you guys be the judge of it. Right. And maybe it resonates with you, maybe it doesn't. But turns out what employers are really looking for is proof. Degrees has been the OG, maybe the number one type of proof. Because one thing to understand is as the world expands, dude, real quick, before you knew design was a thing, when you were, like in school, what did you think you would become? What was your career path you would say when people asked you, bade hoke kya banna hai? What was that for you?
For me, are you asking the chat or are you asking me?
No, I'm asking you, bro. And the chat as well.
Oh, man. I honestly wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be personally an architect, design buildings and stuff. Because there was an international architect who lived in our building. And I would always be fascinated because they would have all these floor plans. And I think if you remember back in the day, they would construct this like Lego type house, like the model house, and they would show you how that's going to look like. So I would look at that and I'll be like, wow, like this is fascinating. But my parents are like, architects paise nahi banate, wo bhooke reh jate hain.
Yeah.
So it was like either become a doctor or become a just like like this engineer. That was the path, and I was like told like you have to take science.
Very
So
interesting for me.
that's
It was very similar, right? What my parents said was engineering will be your default, but I mean, they didn't say that, but I knew it. But they said you're kind of creative, you've done some this thing. So they immediately went, like, I don't know what the mental calculation was, but they said the people who make the most well-paying creative careers apparently that of an architect. And they said, yeah. So they gave me the answer. They're like, you should be an architect. So for a couple of years, when somebody would ask me, I'd be like, yeah, I want to get into architecture. But the point I was making, right, the reason I took this small detour is the scope of what is possible in the world is expanding at a super fast rate. The reason your parents want you to go down the safe paths is because in their time, the number of paths was limited.
yeah,
There was no internet. Imagine
that's
this.
true.
Imagine this kind of conversation that we're having. How rare it would be to find somebody in your neighborhood who knew exactly this, who could expand your mind on the possibilities available. But
Yeah.
what happens is as these possibilities expand, so do the number of paths.
And the interesting thing is, I actually met with that architect when I was in India in 2019, and he's a huge inspiration to me and stuff. So he actually went to CEPT, which is one of the, I believe, the top architect schools in India. It's also in Ahmedabad, where I lived when I was born. So he, 1 week before graduation,
Yeah.
right, he dropped out
Okay.
because he was like, screw the degrees. Because he was like, a lot of people cannot afford these degrees or don't have the means to go these degrees. And he was very much anti against this person I admired, who I wanted to be himself, was
Yeah.
like, like, no, he just dropped out 1 week. Like, he could have just gone the degree and he's just like, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, bro. So my point that I'm making to folks is this is perfect, Himanshu. Modern problems need modern solutions, right? The fact that the scope of careers expanded means that should one go for masters, one should if they think that that would be useful to them, right? I will never say don't go to masters, right? If you can, if you have the option, go for it. You learned so many things in life. But the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this whole new wave of education, this new kind of thing, is that people need options. That's it. It's not a competition between college or no college. It's people should have options, which is we assume everybody here has the luxury of just going out, dropping their career, for example, dropping everything, moving to a college town and doing a 2 year degree, 4 year degree. Most people don't have that option.
Yeah.
Either because they're working or they're already in college. They're like, bro, I'm not going to wait for 2 years to make
Yeah.
a decision. Or, maybe it's just not possible. So this comes down to this idea of proof. A degree is a type of proof, right? Very interestingly, Ayushi says Nirma is the goal. Jenny, you went to Nirma, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Nirma. So like, yeah, Ayushi, like, so I graduated from Nirma, and oh my God, like that was the thing. Like, if you were in Gujarat and you said like, oh, I went to Nirma, like people like, I think my parents are very more happy than me. They were just like, "Hamara beta Nirma mein gaya, hamara chokro Nirma mein chhe," and
Yeah.
they'd be very excited. But I think more than anything, it was the exposure that I really craved. So when I look back at this degree that I had, I spent 4 years. Going back to your point, I think it was had less to do with the technical aspect and stuff I learned, but it was more of I learned how to work on teams. Because you're in college, you have to work with other people. You have to like my social skills improved. I built lifelong friends. I wouldn't have, I'd be like, I'll still be here, but I guess I wouldn't have those friends. So I think those elements are more important to me than did I learn, Photoshop in college? Did I learn, like how to use this tool or that tool?
Yeah. So, again, we'll state this directly since a lot of you might not be aware. I don't have a master's degree, right? Neither does Jayneil. We do have bachelor's degrees though, but in engineering, in a field that
Yeah.
let's just say we learned a lot more outside campus or outside the
Yeah.
classroom. But this is a interesting point to wrap your head around, to think about, which is you still need an advantage, right? Even if you go to college, you need an advantage that sets you apart, right? That gives you your own internal, how do you call it? Like your internal grounding, where that you believe that you really have what it takes, right? College will not help you do that. That's still a path of self exploration. But there's a lot of very practical things that you can do that start acting as proxies to degrees, which is it's a type of proof of work. Let's talk about this for a sec, right? Neither of us have a design degree, right? However,
No.
you worked at AT&T, one of the
Yeah.
one of the top 10 companies in the world, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
Fortune 10, not Fortune
Yeah.
500, right? You've been a B2B designer for like good 5 years
Yeah.
there. I have started my way from freelancing, startups, eventually to head of design at a company, Unacademy, where I was there for a couple of years, which is a $2 billion company. So what was this proof of
Yeah.
work that you had? What do you think was that thing, that extra special sauce that helped you overcome the lack of a degree?
So I think for me, it's like, coming from Gujarat and just being in India my whole life, I realized one very core thing, which is the jugaad, the importance of jugaad. Like anywhere you go in India, right? You always hear like, kuch setting karwa do, kuch jack karwa do, just like, can you like just connect me with someone who knows something? So I realized very early on that this life, the proof of like just relying on, um, like this degree or just your work itself won't do you any good. You have to like go beyond, like you said, find that extra sauce. So for me, being a Gujarati, it was all about how can I do networking, right? And if anything, like my last name is Dalal, so you can say I'm a Dalal in a way. Like, I mean, I love doing Dalali. It's connecting people and networking and stuff. So for me, it became this thing where, okay, I'm in the US and I don't have a degree, but I want to work at this company. If only I can get into a room with one of these hiring managers and they give me a chance to showcase my thinking, how I approach problem solving. Maybe I can show them some of my prior work. I feel that then they might give me a chance to intern, to job, or whatever that is. So then the whole thing for me became about how can I get involved in the community? How can I build a relationship with the designers there? How can I prove to them that yes, I don't have a degree. I don't have a lot of experience in this country. I don't have any of that. But what I do have is the drive. I have the willingness. You can hire somebody else who's got more experience than me, right? I've got zero. But I will goddamn stay up all night, even weekends, and work harder than anybody else you've hired because I've got more on the line. You've got more on the line. Because see, when you come from, like, let's say you went to like NID and I went to Stanford Design School, we both went to like nice schools, we got nice degrees.
We didn't.
Then it's like,
Hypothetical, yeah.
yeah, we did not. But let's say we did, then with the expectation that we have the degree, so we'll get the job. So
That ho chuka hai.
versus in
Basically
our case,
that I've made it in life.
ho chuka
Now I
hai.
can relax, right? I've done
Yeah.
IIT, now I can relax.
But dude, we are hungry as hell. We've got to prove ourselves. So obviously, in some way, me and you might go above and beyond more to prove ourselves. And I think that was the drive that when I went in the interview, I remember very vividly. The question was not even about, oh, like show me your past work and stuff. And I was just given a problem statement, like a design challenge. Like, okay, how would you approach solving this problem? And I solved it. He liked it, and then we went to as we were exiting, like they're walking me out of the building. I ran into the vice president of design, who was building the team at AT&T, and I looked her in the face and I said, "I won the fucking job." I literally looked her in the eye and I just said that. I mean, I don't know how much of that helped me get the job, but I just said it to her like, "Hey, this is not just some job. This is a calling for me. I want it."
Yeah.
So
That's brilliant, bro. Because let me tell you a little bit of my story as well, right? What we're talking about, right? If you
yeah,
wanna go a little deeper into my story, check this out: 10kdesigners.com/UI-UX. Real quick, since we're here on this page, this coming soon here is soon gonna have Jayneil's cohort, right? We have a new thing we're planning, a new experiment. We'll announce that on the streams though, so stay tuned. Not this stream, but in one of the soon to come streams. But here's the part that I think is relevant here. So you got my story. You can check this out. But the thing is, it's not really that you have an advantage with a degree. You might have some advantage, but it's not that you're a disadvantage without one. Because no matter which option you take, right? The first thing we talked about just a couple minutes back was that the number of paths was limited during the previous generation, maybe our parents' time. But now the number of paths in the world has expanded. If you were here yesterday, Shriman has made a thread from our conversation yesterday. Definitely recommend checking this out. This is the concept we talked about yesterday, which is we assume that there's a fixed number of jobs out there. We assume that we have to compete, right? We have to get a rank. But the point is, this one here, the entire world, but let's talk about India, expanding. It means more space is being created, right? More opportunities. And when you have more opportunities, it's not necessary that the old paths will apply to the new opportunities. New paths have to be created. New options have to be created so that more people can come into it, so that the bottleneck does not become, something like a design school. So luckily we're in a position where there's a lot of paths. And to talk from a employer's perspective, right? These 2 points here. Startups don't care about degrees. Now, I will say this. Out of all the jobs out there, you might have seen a few which say a degree is required. And the natural tendency is to assume most jobs are like that, right? But understand that what the kind of jobs you've seen are a small representation of the total design jobs. From my experience, maybe I think it's 8. I might be 9. Startups don't care about degrees. And companies, some bigger companies do, but you can always make up. If you read very carefully at job descriptions, I've done this with job descriptions from not just startups, but bigger companies like Microsoft, even Google, Facebook. They say degree or equivalent experience. Those 3 words, or equivalent experience, is where you can really have a competitive advantage, where you can figure out yourself. And the problem is mostly that this equivalent experience is really hard to figure out for somebody who has no clue, right? A degree is a predictable path. This is not so predictable because it's a new path. So there's very few people who actually understand how to make that happen. So Jayneil, tell me this. What do you think about this? Do you think this is true? Do you think that what really is equivalent experience to you from your perspective?
See, when it comes to equivalent experience, right, there's multiple ways. Like if you're in college, you would work on a project, right? You would work on a project and you would be given this brief and you would work with your classmates and do something about it, a capstone project. But if you're a self-taught designer, right, you're trying to learn on your own, there's so many things you can do to prove. So let's say that I'm just going to point out random people like Swapnil Raj. Like Swapnil, let's say he has his family wedding, right? So one of the things in family weddings is that the whole schedule's got to be there, like where the wedding's going to take place, what is the food menu going to be like, like all this information, right? You keep sending all this information via WhatsApp. So Swapnil might be like, you know what? For my family member, I'm going to create a website for free. I'm going to design that website. So that, in a way, even a simple thing like that he did for his community, for his family, could be a proof of work, for example. And what's important here is not whether, Swapnil designed this website for like some really well-connected cousin of his that everybody knows, he's a film star. No, none of that matters. The scale doesn't matter as much. What matters is Swapnil's ability to communicate. Why did you design this website this way? What was your logic behind it? Right? So I think that thinking is what the employers want to hear. And I think most people don't like focus on that. They just focus on like this, like, oh, look at this, I created this beautiful thing, it's so beautiful, but there's no explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think that's the trap we have to fall out of. Is like there's so many projects, so many proof of experience that people can actually listening right now here can do. Everybody can do something. It doesn't always have to be like really big scale and really like this, oh, it got an award, but just be able to explain why you did it that way.
Yeah. And this is really funny tweet that I saw. Okay. I want your perspective on this.
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing we were talking about is degrees are not the problem. We have no problem with college. We have a problem when there's no
Yeah.
alternative, right?
True.
Another interesting thing is most people make their friends in college, but as an adult, where do you make your friends? Why should college have that monopoly on making friends? But I think
Yeah.
the thing that I found most funny was this. What do you think about this, Jayneil?
Nationalization. If every career path requires different skill set and training, why does every college major exactly for? Oh yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
I think we're still stuck in that industrial era. Like, if we take a trip down memory lane, right? Like Taylorism, as they called it back in the day. So, when like all these manufacturing, like the Ford car and everything was being made, right? You had all these processes that were there. Like, you go get a degree and you become specialized in that. That was your thing, right? That was your thing. And for a long time, you worked at a company back in the day for 20 years and you got a pension plan, you retired. That was the day. That was the way about it. But now things are changing so rapidly. Look at how many new programming languages are coming out. Look at how quickly tools are changing, right? When we early started designing, like, like Photoshop was like the only tool that people talked about. But now there's so many alternatives to it. People talk about Figma, Sketch, so many different tools. So the thing is, if you're stuck in that 4-year loop, that feedback loop, the time it takes for you to like quickly like get the knowledge. Because see, the thing is, a college is a 4-year program, right? They've got a certain way they're doing things, but the industry is moving much faster than that. So most colleges have to adapt at that same pace to stay relevant. And the thing is, most colleges, even if they try, they're not able to keep up to the same pace as the which industry is moving. So that's where alternatives like like what we're doing at 10K designers and just like cohort based courses and programs like that actually can iterate quickly. So right after a program is complete, you're like, okay, what's the new industry trends, what has changed, and we quickly update everything. I think that really has an advantage in some way.
True, true. And I think I love the point that you made about the factory system, number one, which is
Yeah.
a lot of the education system has been, how do we make predictable? Because that was needed at that point, right? To educate
Yeah.
people on a mass level, you will need some kind of this thing. But today, I think with the scope of possibilities, um, the second point that you made, is that college is a 4-year loop. And when we say loop, it's more
Yeah.
about you will find out how your college experience, what the result was 4 years later, right?
Yeah.
But the problem, number one, this was the problem, right? Which is, since startups are moving so fast, you need somebody who is more of a, I don't know, is the word hustler the right one for this?
Yeah.
Or it's more of, even if you go to college or you're self-taught, the kind of attitude, the mindset that you have is really important. And then besides that, with design, literally the field can change overnight. Like, of course, the core UX principles, how people operate, a lot of stuff remains static. But I remember back in 20, actually don't remember which year this was, but I'd been a designer for a few years. And then literally overnight, iOS. I mean, yesterday was
Yeah.
WWDC, so interesting
Yeah.
coincidence. But iOS announced iOS 7. This was back in the day, right? I don't know
Yeah.
what exactly, or maybe somebody can tell me. When they announced iOS 7, literally overnight, it switched from skeuomorphic design to flat design,
Yeah.
right? iOS 7 was a totally different direction to take.
True.
And that seems like a simple thing. Maybe it's just the visuals, but literally everything got affected. So when you're in a college, your material that you're learning from, a lot of it is very relevant, but a lot of it cannot update as fast because that 4 year
Oh my
loop
God.
is not fast enough. The industry moves. Think about this: 5 years ago, there was no Uber, there was no Swiggy,
I know.
and today we don't even consider, we don't even think about it.
So I'll give you an example of this very specific thing because I was, we both were in similar fields, like mine being more of electrical engineering and stuff. We had all these practical labs that we did on this 8051 microprocessor, right? And dude, this was one of the first microprocessors that they came up with, okay? And at that point, I was studying how to like program in assembly language. Like this is the first language, right?
Yeah.
While out there in the world, dude, people were programming in Perl and so many modern languages. They were actually working on, like multi-core processor, like Intel Core 2 Duo was the thing back then,
Yeah.
like so those were the things that people were working on. So when I came out with that 8051 microcontroller knowledge, dude, people are like, dude, who gives a shit about it? That was like during your grandfather's time. Like, come on. So that was the problem. And it's not the college's fault because if you want to buy new kits or new equipment for the students, dude, it's changing every day. And it's very expensive too. So
Yeah.
the amount of time it will take to get the new kits all the way from US and get here and work on it, there's such a gap. And especially in the software field, there's not much of a headache like that. So I think also something also helps is if we have people who are practicing in the field like daily, not just like teaching.
Hmm.
But if let's say you're working at an academy and you're teaching, so it's like you're literally knowing what's happening there in real time, and then you're bringing it there. So
Hmm. For
most
sure,
teachers,
bro.
what I've seen is they are very good at teaching, but they are just been teaching for a while.
Yeah. Somebody says कोर टू ड्यू पे मैंने GTA 4 चलाया था. Same, bro. Same.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking
Yeah.
like I have code to do, and now this thing is just like.
So tell me this, okay? Let's take a bit of a turn now. I think we've made some points about this. Um, I think the most fun parts about college, the friends you make, the one interesting professor who doesn't care about finishing the syllabus, but they'll talk about life. Like that to me is a really
Yeah,
fun part about college.
I
That one
know.
elective that you enroll in that, is so different that you're like, wow, this is so cool. For me, that
Yeah.
elective was, I think, history of technology and philosophy, and I got an A plus in that,
Okay.
and that was the only A plus I got for my entire
Oh
four
my
years of
God,
college. Right?
man.
I think the hostel experiences, all of that is amazing. Let's talk a little bit about learning as a social event, learning as a social activity. We touched upon this yesterday in yesterday's session, but now that you've taught a cohort, you've had a chance over the past 3 months to really be a part of and design this learning experience. What has been your takeaways around that?
So I've done both. I've taught like one-on-one, right? And then obviously with 10K designers, last quarter I had the chance to with you just teach in a group in a
And let me add
like
this. Sorry to interrupt. Let me add this. Jayneil has
yeah,
taught at college. So Jayneil
yeah.
um, has taught. Was it a semester or is it a more of a course kind of thing? It's an
It's like a
elective.
course, but like every semester they have this elective. So I've taught at universities, I've done guest lectures there, so I've
Yeah.
taught in that capacity as well.
Yes.
Um, so it's like I got the perspective from teaching one-on-one. I got the perspective from teaching at university. Then obviously now with like 10K, I got the perspective of teaching in a social-based environment where everybody's doing it as part of a group. And you know what was shocking to me is that when you teach one-on-one or in many traditional colleges, it's more of like people are just like going solo on the journey. And the number one complaint that I get would be from members and students would be, "Yaar, motivation lack kar raha hai," or they'll be like, I'm just feeling like stuck. I wish there was someone I could talk to. So that was like definitely one big challenge that I saw because everybody's going at their own pace, everybody's working differently. So that was one definitely thing that I missed. Now the college part I did enjoy because I could teach in person, but the problem was, dude, people had some other things going on. Like they're like, oh, I gotta pick up something at home. I cannot make it in time because you have to drive all the way to college. So there's all these other barriers. Like some people are working and they're like, we cannot make it there. I can only do evening times. So then the flexibility became an issue. But with what happened with the last 10K designers cohort, what I noticed was that everybody's in this journey together. There's a start date and there's an end date. So everybody is going the same direction in a way. And what was awesome was that in the Discord community, I would just hop in time to time and I would see people chatting till like 5 a.m. in the morning. They're just chatting, not even about design. They're actually just talking about Mirzapur, Kalin Bhaiya, and like they're just like really like we talked about building friends as an adult, right? You're no longer in college. So it was really awesome to see that camaraderie going on. And one of my most favorite moment was that when we had, I think you remember this, we had one member of the cohort who was supposed to present their case study, and like you get the stage fright. You get the stage fright, like sab log dekh rahe hai, kya hoga? Oh my God, you just freeze. And I remember like 100 claps went out in that chat room, like you can do it, do it, do it. And that person did it. And I think that's the power of like social learning, is like you're not alone in this. There's other people to learn from. And the best part is it's not just that what you're learning yourself. If like me, Sajal, and Sriram and Himanshu all and Harsh Chaudhary are all in the same cohort, I'm not only learning what I'm learning, but then I'll also learn what Himanshu is learning. Because Himanshu will share like, acha, aaj maine ye sikha, right? Priyanshu will be like, oh, maine ye bhi sikha aaj. So you're learning collectively as a group. You're getting feedback on your skills as well, on your work from your peers. And the best part, Abhinav, is when you walk out of that 3 month, dude, you made lifelong friends.
Yeah.
So
for sure, bro.
That's the way I feel about it.
I think one interesting point that you've touched upon is most online courses, I feel, are too focused on hard outcomes, skills, tools, yes. Frameworks. Not frameworks, but let's say HTML, CSS, do this. Cramming knowledge. I think information is the main this thing. But one thing that we're moving towards and have figured out for the past cohort is these soft skills. How do you, in a group, in a simple example, most of your interviews as a designer are going to be on Zoom. We understand that. How do you speak to a stranger over Zoom? How do you do that with confidence without doubting yourself, right? How do you do that where you understand that you have a long way to go? You're like, I'm not perfect, but you still want to take your shot. You don't want to wait for a future where you're ready. And these kind of things, very difficult to do through an online course. That's not a cohort.
And the thing is, I want everyone to literally think about quota factory. Like most of these colleges and programs are like quota factory. Like how can we just like guarantee the outcomes of parents that this person will get into the top university, this person will, like get this design degree. So it's all about like ratta maro. And it's like, again, going back to the factory model, right? Like gadhe produce karo. This is almost like it keeps on going in that loop, right? But our thing is more like, how can we make it fun? Like learning should be social based. You can learn from other people, but also it should be fun. Because then you're looking forward to it. Because as designers, right, we want to design that experience where you're like, oh yaar, aaj maza aayega, aaj kuch padhenge, kuch naya sikhenge. Like that's the attitude versus yaar wo bawarchi professor aayega, ratta marayega, and you're like, we don't want that kind of vibe.
Yeah. And to everybody here, this is one of the reasons why we're doing this free cohort, which is initially we were thinking, it's a mini cohort. This is not mini.
Yeah.
Pehle bata dun, this is not mini. We have close to 2,500 people registered for this, right? However, you can see literally the motivation problem right here, right? Only 500 people have showed up here, right? So again, we are of course doing this as marketing. Folks are like, bro, marketing kar rahe hain. Obviously, I'm marketing kar rahe hain, bro.
Yeah.
Right? But the point is, even without that, we hope you learn something, right? So folks who are interested, we have a very special thing coming up, by the way. We have a quiz that we've planned. Jayneil, this is a surprise to Jayneil as well. But folks who are interested in joining the cohort, this is our cohort. You can find it on the homepage. Applications are open all of June. People who've already applied, we haven't actually started processing the applications yet, right? So we're going to be starting that very soon. We have 2 new cohorts that are coming up. The only difference between this cohort that we're going through right now on YouTube and these is that these are limited experiences where we actually do Zoom calls instead. So we talk to you, right? We do breakout rooms where you talk to each other.
Yeah.
And of course, there are assignments. So this YouTube experience is more of a cohort light than a mini cohort. But yeah, if you're interested in
And
going
it's more
hardcore,
hands-on. And it's more hands-on, right? Like,
hands on.
because
Yeah.
like we have 2,500 people, so I mean, logistically, like we can't just DM everyone and have a conversation with 2,500 people. Like my brain like beja fry ho jayega.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not possible. So in the cohort, in the limited experience, like, all the 10K mentors get involved one-on-one. There's much more personalized attention.
Yeah.
So
So, folks, it is now quiz time. Okay. Let me real quick tell you, a lot of you are watching a pre-recording of this, so I'm talking to you in the future. You cannot participate
yeah.
in this little activity. People who are live, get ready. Okay, this is going to be our activity that we do today. We're gonna do a small quiz. I'm about to ask a question in the chat. The first person who gets this, we're gonna be sending you. So somebody actually suggested this to me. They were like, "Why don't you do a?" We're gonna be
Giveaway.
sending out to one person a Figma Gang T-shirt, right? We're gonna be sending you a Figma Gang T-shirt, mostly because, dude, people have asked, can you set up a merch store? We don't really want to do a merch store. But we still want people to have these cool T-shirts. So here you go. I'm going to show you the question on screen. The first person who gets it, the chat, DM me, you won yourself a free T-shirt. We're going to do a real quick giveaway now. Okay. Are you all ready? Fastest fingers first. All right. Let's go.
कौन बनेगा
Okay.
man?
Okay. I think we have the answer. But I have to see who. And I'm sure this was Googled, right, for a lot of people. But
Yeah.
let me just quickly scroll. Let's see who got the answer first. The question was, which Indian design agency designed Swiggy's logo, Swiggy's branding, right? That was the question. And let's see who got the answer to our quiz question. It was Frog Design. No, it's not Frog Design. It's not Lollipop.
Yeah.
It's not Sparkling. Here you go. The answer, Gotham, you got the answer right. Beard Design is the one who did this. Beard Design, by the way, today they've rebranded. So folks who said opposite, you're right. It is opposite. But
Yeah.
back then they were called Beard Design. So the first answer that we got was Gotham. Gotham, you got yourself a free Figma Gang t-shirt. DM me on Discord. I'll figure out how to get this to you. But yeah, that was our little quiz for today. Awesome, bro. So, Jayneil, we're coming towards the end of our today's session,
Yeah.
right? What are your final thoughts on this? What are your final thoughts on, people who are... The reason I think this is an important topic to talk about still is because it's a blocker to people. People are afraid to get started because they think this is a thing that's holding them back. What's your advice?
I think what's happening is everyone's waiting for that proven formula. Okay, give me this proven formula that will work, and I'll just do that. Right? So this proven formula, there's some of them out there. Like, okay, I'll go to college, I'll get this degree, and then I'll get a master's maybe, and I'll do all this, then I'll get a job. That's one of the proven formulas. So you can do that, but not everyone is willing to pay that price, meaning the time, effort, energy that goes into it, or it may not be feasible for them for whatever reason that might be. So the thing is, when you realize that, you have to experiment and try something new, right? You have to like take that risk. I think the biggest thing is that we sometimes get so fearful of experimentation. That's including me as well. We're just like, no, I want just to go the chosen path. Like, no, thoda bhi deviation hoga, risk hoga, nahi, nahi, kya ho jayega. But the thing is, we have to take a little bit of risk and try these different ways to learn.
Yeah.
Take some call to action. Don't just wait for someone to figure it out for you, and then you're like, okay, Ashu's figured it out, so now I can just copy what Ashu has done. The thing is, by the time Ashu's figured it out, Nitish has figured it out, it might be too late. It's become too mainstream now. There's way more competition. These are the early innings, and you have to take any advantage, leverage, secret sauce you can get. So my call to action for a lot of people from today's session would be really think that if you really want to make a career in design, number one, if you think that for you it makes sense to do the degree and stuff, then go do it. Keep doing it. If you're already in a college program or something, can you not learn it on the side in some way possible? Like let's say you're in electrical or civil engineering or whatever field you are in. I mean, yeah, it's hard to switch at midway, but keep doing that. But on the side, you know, instead of going to PVR to watch a movie, can you not just spend a few more hours learning about Figma or something?
Yeah.
And those people who don't want to, like go to college or do any of that and still learn, there's so many possible opportunities out there, including 10K. But just think about that. Like, can I get that knowledge from there? Because time is of the value for all of you. Time.
Definitely.
You can buy everything else. You'll make all that money back, but you cannot get back is the time.
Yeah. So, folks, thank you for joining today. Right, my final call to action, amazing call to action, Jayneil. But my call to action, to rephrase or put it in my own words, would be you have to start where you are at. The cohorts are not for everyone, and we admit that. But the thing is, we still want to help you figure it out, even if you're never going to buy a cohort, right? Because in the end, we want to improve the design quality overall. We want to improve the baseline, right? Design college might not be for you, but if it is, go for it. Self-learning might not be for you, but start small. Cohorts might not be for you, but find an alternative, right? Do not wait to make the right decision and avoid getting started. The point is, whichever path you take, what's important is that you get started today. That's the most important. Get started today and keep it going, because that will beat everything else. That consistency will beat everything else, right? So, folks, thank you for joining. My another call to action would be, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, we do a lot of, not a lot, but we do have voice channels there. So a couple of mentors, alumni probably are hanging out if you want to go deeper into some questions. Some of them might be available to help you out. Real quick, let me show you what that looks like. The link, you will find it on the website, but I'll really quick drop it here as well. This is our this is our Discord link. For folks who want to get started in design and you're like, मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता, bro. मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता. Like, I don't even know what the terms UI, UX stand for. The first thing you will see is something called Start Here, right? You will find a design crash course. This is old, right? But for a lot of people, you might have not seen this yet. This design crash course is something that we made a while back, but it's still very relevant today. So if you want to parallelly start your self-learning and you haven't done so already, I would say this is a good option to start. But other than that, thank you for being a part of this community learning experience. Hopefully, we've given you some things to think about. We will be looking forward to your thoughts, threads, whatever else you might share on Twitter. We will highlight them in the future sessions as well. We will see you tomorrow at the same time for another interesting discussion. We haven't fully talked about what the rest of the sessions are, but we are keeping it a bit of a surprise for now. But yeah, thank you all for joining. See you soon.
Namaste.
Namaste.